session together for the Baldwin City Council for January the 3rd. There's been one slight modification to our agenda versus the one that was sent out earlier to media and therefore to the public, and that's item number 3, promotion of John Taylor. Just want to point that out so everyone's aware that has been added to the agenda from the original version. Outside of that, we're going to move along our agenda. First item is Firefighter of the Year. Is this Chief Roy?
Yes.
Come forward, please, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
We used to do firefighter a year, rookie of the year, different ones, back when the volunteer status was there, and we done all kinds of stuff, but we kind of get away from that in doing that, and this year we decided to go back to doing firefighter of the year, and so this person that's elected is elected by his peers, sort of the same way Scott does his, and they all vote for him, for whoever has showed the most for that year as far as training and different type of things that he might have done and that sort. So this year, I'd like to have Lieutenant Craig come up here. Michael's been with us he's been with us twice. And I guess both years put together, how many years you got? Here? Yeah.
We got 8 back and 7 the first time on.
Yeah, 15 years
There you go.
with us. So we're gonna make this real quick. I'd like to present this to Lieutenant Michael Craig from Baldwin Fire Department for the dedication and sacrifices over the past year that you have made for your family and your fellow firefighters. We thank you from the fellow firefighters of Baldwin. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Woo!
I'll be back.
Be careful out there, Chief, listening, whatever you're doing. Well, that sounds like it's important. All right, moving right along. Next item is the promotion of John Taylor. Is this Chief and Justin?
They run a minute behind, so.
Okay, that's right.
We'll give
We,
us just-
tell you what, since we are in a work session and this is a more relaxed atmosphere, we're going to just leave that on the agenda until they show. And you can just let me know. We'll bring that back forward. Okay?
He said he went to eat with his wife and he was waiting on the woman, so. He should be here in just a minute.
All right. We have no public hearing on our agenda tonight. We also have no old business on our agenda tonight. So we're going to move into our new business. Item number 1 is the SAFER grant application. Chief Roy has just dismissed himself for a proper reason. Ms. Woodmaster, are you still here to bring this forward?
Enough to be dangerous.
Good. Very dangerous.
All right. Good evening.
Ironically, it's called the SAFER grant. Dangerous situation.
So we have talked about this grant in the past. This is actually one of the 2 grants that this council has agreed to allow our fire department to submit for. Just a quick overview, this grant would allow for us to hire additional personnel over the next 5 years. So we would hire 4 additional personnel, I believe. Don't quote that number, it's either 4 or 5. And then we're given those 5 years to build that salary into our budget. And the difference is compensated from these grant funds. The reason that we're bringing it before you tonight is because there is a new requirement from our grant writer. So this grant is applied for a number of times by a number of departments, and it's a very tedious and time-consuming application. And instead of allowing the application to be paid for through grant funds, they are now requiring upfront funds to secure the grant. That cost is $1,500. That fee is for the grant writer to secure the grant and to keep putting in for it. The benefit here is that it's not a one-time fee. If we do not get the grant and we reapply the next year, that $1,500 secures that application through our grant writer. So until we get it, that $1,500 will go with us until the grant is won. were awarded to the city of Long Meadow.
So it is a one-time.
Well, it's not a one-time, like, you're applying this year, and if you don't get it, sorry about it, next year you have to pay another $1,500.
No, it was one time
It's-
from the municipality to
That's
the
correct.
grant writer for,
Yes, it's not one time per each application. The other fee that is now associated with this is a $5,000 grant funding fee. So once the grant is awarded, there is a $5,000 fee owed to the grant writer. What happens with the SAFER grant, because it is over the course of 4 to 5 years that this is a monitored grant, they actually give us a supervisor over the grant or a grant administrator from FEMA to help administer that grant. So our grant writer will take a step back after 6 months, and that the grant supervisor, I don't know their title, will take over for the portion of the grant. So that $5,000 will cover their fee for the 6 months that they will be the ones administering the grant and ensuring that we've done everything we need to do to establish the grant and those positions within the city. So, the $1,500 expectation would come from this year's budget. Chief Roy is confident that he can make that happen in his current budget. And the $5,000 requirement would not be paid until we were awarded that grant. However, the funding of the SAFER grant will not apply until, or the funds won't come in until the next budget cycle. So our anticipation is to include that $5,000 in the next budget cycle, should the council allow.
on which line?
It would be, well, this would be a new line. For the $5,000, it would be a commitment, a $5,000 commitment from the city.
General fund?
Yes, from the fire department.
Oh, from the fire department?
Yes, yeah. So it will be built into the next year's budget.
So in prior conversations about the SAFER grant, neither of these two expenditures were discussed. However, there was the typical anticipation of the percentage of the grant being paid to the grant writer. And, my math is not sharp enough, and I don't know what that normal percentage is, but I'm betting that the total of $6,500 is actually less than what will be a traditional percentage of a grant of this size.
So are these two expenditures in lieu of the percentage?
That's the way I think I understand Ms. Woodmaster to just present it. This is my first time understanding this too, but the way I heard her present it. And so FEMA becomes the administrative body, and I presume FEMA does not get funded in any form other than the reality that they're administering a fee and they're funded from the backside of it. So in reality, even though these are upfront dollars that we had not anticipated, in reality, this is actually a cheaper cost for the money than what we had anticipated. Am I correct in that assumption?
That's correct.
For a 10-second overview of a dangerous discussion, I wanted to make sure I was following that right.
Okay, that sounds a little bit better, because I was a little bit worried about that. It sounded differently. Sorry, I had to mute because I was coughing.
Okay.
Do we have any idea why the county was denied the SAFER grant? It was on the front page of the Northeast Georgia News.
I didn't read the article and I haven't heard anything about it. I don't.
I read the article, but, you know, we were denied the funds for the fire truck. We're now applying for the SAFER grant. The county's just been denied for the SAFER grant. I mean, doesn't look like we're actually going to get this. We're going to incur the $1,500,
Yes.
whether we get the grant or not. Then the $5,000 would be in addition to that $1,500.
If we're awarded the grant.
And, you know, I'm just like, is Habersham on the naughty list with FEMA
Well,
or?
that's what Justin was just saying, that, one of the requirements of the SAFER grant, which Chief Roy did explain to us at the last meeting, is that you have to be fully staffed and still need employees.
Mhm.
And, apparently the county was not fully staffed at the time of submission.
And we are, correct?
Right now, that's, we need a part-time. But I don't think it impacts the application.
What are the deadlines on this?
I just know that, the application opened, in January. So Chief and I have been working on, getting all of the documentation submitted for it.
All in all, I think the big question is whether council is still, have a true belief that this is worth the effort and whether it's something that, we would like to see our city move forward with.
Again, the $1,500 is for, will carry over to the next, to, future applications if we don't get the grant. Did I understand that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay, so, that definitely makes it a little easier for me to swallow, because it's a little bit of a bitter pill, given that we have to put money up front, have to be fully staffed. It almost seems counterintuitive to even have that. If you're already fully staffed and you can pay for it, then, it's great to have the grants, but geez, you'd think that grants would be out there to help people that aren't fully staffed, just to help where they're hurting. So a little frustrating, but I don't have a problem with that. You paid your money and you take your chances. I guess it's a little more likely than winning the lottery.
This grant, I don't know all of the history behind it, but I do know that one of the reasons that you are required to be fully staffed is because there's supposed to be, the intention of the grant is to support an unanticipated growth of department need. So, you had, 25% increase in population in 6 months and you don't have enough personnel. And you're still trying to build with the property taxes that you've been given, or however it is that you fund your department. Some entities fund the department by a tax. It's a fire tax on your property tax bill. So you're only getting that during property tax due dates. You're not getting those funds throughout the year, so it's unanticipated. And the goal of the grant is to help you get there. Because you've seen the growth. One of the things that we have to defend in our grant application is why we need more staff. That the amount that we have right now will not sustain us because look at our growth pattern over the last 5 years. So we have shown and documented that every year we've grown by X, and we're going to continue to see this trend as it goes, and we need help to get there. So that's what the purpose of this grant is for. It's not it's not like an emergency grant per se. It's not, oh no, we're overgrown, hurry, help us now. It's, we see it coming, we need the assistance, we need to gradually build into this. And it's to help the taxpayers so that they're not immediately burdened by that increase in growth, and immediately hitting their digest as well.
And remind me, it's for 4 years and it kind of tapers off from the beginning, right?
Yes, so the first year it's fully funded by the grant, and then every year 25% is reduced, which is the side that we have to come up with each year. So next year, so if we were to get funded this year, it's 100% covered. Next year, we would have to fund 25% of those salaries, the next year 50, the next year 75. And
I see, that makes a little more sense. Thank you.
Well, and it definitely makes sense with our growth pattern. So it seems to fit with everything that we've approved in the past 2 years, knowing that the build-outs are coming in the next 10. This gets us up to where we should be for what's happening across the highway.
Agreed.
I like being proactive. I mean, if we could get this grant, I think this might alleviate some of the concerns that some of our citizens have had about budgets and increasing staff and need for vehicles.
Okay, I don't think the council has changed their opinion much. We'll bring it forward Monday night for an official decision since we don't traditionally take votes in a work session like this. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Woodmaster?
No, I wish Chief was here.
Okay.
Duty calls though.
Well, we will state that Chief is out doing what he's supposed to be doing, protecting life and property. We appreciate that. So we'll excuse him for not being able to answer those questions. But I do recall him spending a great effort discussing this in our retreat, which is just another representation of why those retreats carry such value. Excellent. Well, since we've got our special guest in the room now, we're gonna move back to a prior item on the agenda, which I left floating, and I'm going to invite, Chief Justin and their counterparts to the podium.
Good evening, everybody. All right, so we've been talking about this a while, so I'm gonna refer back to Miss Stephanie. She always talks about a vision. So this is one step towards that vision. And it's not something I do lightly. Somebody don't get promoted just for a tip of the hat or for something like that. There is a reason. John Taylor, when he come to work here, he had been in law enforcement many years. He's done the jail, he's done the road. So when I look at John is a guy, he's here every day. And he's here above and beyond. Many shifts he's not required to work, he's here. Many times on his day off, he's had to go to court. He's had to go pick up somebody at a jail in Jackson County and have them back to juvenile court. You never hear a complaint. Not one complaint. Well, it don't come out. I don't know it. But John knows how to treat people. That is the main thing right there. He knows how to treat people. And that's what you want in a supervisor. That is definitely. So John, here's your stripes. Here's your collar brass. And I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You have anything, Justin?
Congratulations.
This is your moment.
Congratulations. I appreciate y'all doing this in a public format like this. I think it helps the council and our citizens to know how selective we are with our staff and with the responsibility that we place on them. So thank y'all for doing that here tonight. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Well, we appreciate the family being here.
Yes, we did.
As we said to April when you became chief, this is a family affair. Thank you for loaning us John. And we know the toll it takes on the family, the emotional and physical toll on the family. So we thank the family for being here and for supporting John so he can support our citizens. Thank you so much.
Now we get the pictures.
While she was taking the picture, we were also gonna introduce Dakota, our newest officer, but he had to run out with that emergency call, so, with the fire department. But, he's good to go. He's actually working a shift, and, Lita will be done with field training. She's got like 6 weeks left, something like that, 6, 7 weeks. Once she finishes, we'll have the two of them on our first complete 24-hour rotation, and then Kyle's, we got what, 2 weeks left? 2 weeks left, and he'll be done, I think, the 20th, and then he'll start field training, and hopefully, fingers crossed.
And what's the
24 hours
magic
across the
date,
board,
Jeff?
so do it,
What's the magic date? April 17th?
something like that.
I think April 17th is what we have slated back 24/7 coverage.
Wow.
That's something we've been working hard. So,
How's the new cars?
over there. Well, you have to ask them. I ain't got mine. I wanted to make sure they had theirs first.
They're doing great.
That's
They're
awesome.
pretty.
They
They're
are
pretty.
nice.
If they've been coming through the neighborhood.
They,
It's
much,
definitely a change.
Very
On the street.
proud.
It just looks so different.
They do.
Like, good different.
Are they better than the Ford? I
I
love
like
the
my Fords, but these transmissions and those that we've had, no, not for what we do.
That's good to know.
Our goal, part of the vision, chief, our goal has been to be a municipality and a department where people wanted to come work. That we weren't second chance, third chance, but that we were the first choice for people to come. So for young people to choose us because we have the equipment, we have the leadership, that the pieces are in place. The 3 years that I've been on the council is the start of my 4th year. We have changed dramatically. 7 chiefs in 4 years.
Right.
And I feel so much better now than when I started 3 years ago. What's going on here? So, to everybody, thank you for, again, propelling us forward and making that vision come to fruition. So,
I'll tell you this, on that, when I first started full-time here, we couldn't find a single qualified applicant to save our lives. And then, you know, we slowly over time, we got some that we could send to the academy and things like that. But now, we have several, like, qualified, good officers that wanna come here, and we don't have the spots for them. I mean, several. So, I mean, just within 6 months, I mean, it's a world of difference. Because they are seeing that it's, you know, a new time here, and that y'all are supporting us, and we're getting the things we need.
I'm glad Alice isn't here, because we'd both be in tears. Alice,
That's right.
one of those first retreats, you and I cried tears because the pay wasn't good and the equipment wasn't good, and we were embarrassed. And so we've worked hard these 3 years, you know, approving the finances to make this happen. I mean, dreams without funding are hallucinations, you know that. So we have to have the funding to make sure that you can do your job. And I hope the citizens continue to be proud of our first responders.
Well, it speaks volumes of y'all's leadership when you say people are interested in coming and joining the team. So that's a confirmation. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you, everyone. You guys are awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, we're gonna return back to number 2, which is the NGN Connect account update. Mr. Messer?
I did include in your packet the current agreement that we have with Appalachian Broadband Technologies, which we formerly call ABT. You'll see it, you know, in our revenue and expenditure report. It says ABT revenues, NGN. There's a couple different variations of that name, but this is our internet provider. We entered into an agreement with them back in 2014 to provide wireless internet service not only to city buildings but also to residents that could also receive that benefit. There was infrastructure put into place that the city shared in that cost. Again, back in 2014, this agreement is carried throughout the last 8 years. We haven't made any modifications or changes to this agreement as it stands. However, you know, in the process of reviewing all of our agreements, contracts that we have, this is another one that is coming up. So we have the option to change it, make modifications to it, leave it the same, eliminate it altogether. But we wanted to bring this before you tonight, just to go over the details that are in it. If you have any questions about the arrangement that we have. And there was, I stated earlier before the meeting that this was one of those some unknowns that we didn't have as city staff, and we were able to meet with one of the representatives to get some clarification on the services that they provide to us. As a result of that conversation, they did increase our payment with, which had not been reviewed since 2014 when this service was established. So they did increase that from 25 mega something, I don't know the terminology. Megabits, that's what it is. Megabits per second. So they increased it from 25 to 50, and they are actively working towards increasing that to 100 for the city, for city buildings, as well as the individuals and commercial enterprises that are also utilizing the service. I believe the number was between 10 and 12 of users of our internet, the infrastructure that we put into place in 2014. There's 12 users outside of the city that are utilizing the wireless service.
When did they increase the bandwidth?
On Wednesday. This
Has
past
that
Wednesday.
been noticeable within the organization?
I haven't reached out to the other departments. I've not seen a change at the city, at City Hall. But we knew that they came out and tested it. We didn't know that they actually increased it until today. So I will reach out to the other departments
tried to homeschool our children on that, and it was a miserable failure. And, you know, as you know, a couple of us worked from home at that point, you know. And so I'm wondering what is holding us up from having 100 megabits per second. And I apologize for asking you to repeat about the number of users attached to that, if you don't mind telling me.
Between 10 and 12 is the current number that we would
Okay.
recommend. Now, I will say the reason that we don't have 100 megabits is because the technology that we have installed is outdated, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but it's line of sight. So it's only what the routers are able to see from that tower.
Right.
So there's only so much that can be done, so they are working towards improving that infrastructure as well.
Okay, yeah, and that's what, right, so it also has to do with it's microwave internet is what it is, and so the little dishes that they put on our buildings are probably older, and they do have newer technology. Since those were installed, those are the same that we have on the farm. You know, and they when they came to pick it up, they were like, oh, you guys can just throw it in the trash because we've got newer technology. So I would like to see if we continue on with North Georgia Network. I'd like to see that equipment updated. But I will say that I really I would love for us to look into, now that gig is available to us. I'm wondering if more megabits per second for the dollar can be had with another provider that's here in our area.
Well, that is something that our IT company has been looking into. You know, the ultimate goal for IT is to get all of our city buildings on the same internet, which currently they are not. There's a couple of different internet providers that we have for various reasons, and we're trying to bring all of them in together. I will say that in our conversation with NGN, one of their ultimate goals is fiber. You know, that's just the direction that internet is headed in general. And to, you know, having this line of sight wireless internet as a backup to the fiber. So not completely eliminating it, but the goal here is to the installation of fiber. They want our city offices to have that as well. So they are working towards that. It's just what we have available to us in our area, you know, where they're able to lay. And we sit in a very unique spot that is just on the other side of a rail line that costs a lot of money to put something under that railroad, as we all know. So that is quite a task, but it is something that they are trying to achieve.
Awesome, thank you.
We're gonna bring this item back forward Monday night. We believe that we'll have a representative from NGN to answer, questions with more technical, results. I encourage council members to read the current agreement that we have in hand, the one that goes way back to 2014. And, please be prepared to ask any questions either with her on Monday night or through Ms. Woodmaster between now and then. The goal would be to make sure that we make the right decision for the city of Baldwin.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Woodmaster? Any questions or any other questions or concerns with this? Okay. Excellent. All right. Next item on our agenda is announcements. City offices will be closed on January 16th in observation of Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
It's a new one.
So as council's aware, this was one of our added holidays for our staff members. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is not new by any stretch of the imagination, but it is new as far as a closed day for our city facilities. Any other announcements from staff?
We received our admin vehicle. Scott's vehicle arrived today.
Oh, very
So
good.
all of the units that we have purchased through Enterprise or entered into that lease agreement are all in our possession.
Very good, very good. When did Scott return from his trip? So he got to.
Yep,
see
he
the-
went and picked it up today.
The new car smell.
Yep, absolutely.
And you will get his new car smell.
Sure.
Moving on.
3 o'clock in the morning in a wet, muddy mess getting into a car. I'm sure that car needs just a little bit of,
It's in mint
shaking out.
condition.
We appreciate everything that car has done for the city.
Right.
And we look forward to it becoming a useful tool for the administration.
It ain't too bad, I rode it the other day with him.
Okay. All right, any announcements from council?
I have one. I've been reading in the paper the situation that our sister city, Alto, has been in with the water, in their water tanks. And as other municipalities across the country have had issues with their water, I remain concerned. You know, water is life, right? I mean, we need this, whether we're making food for our families or, you know, making baby formula or putting the wet stuff on the red stuff, as the chief says. I mean, we need the water. And so the concern that I had for the citizens of Alto was strong, but it also reminded me of the good work that we've done in the past 3 years to make sure that the citizens of Baldwin have access to water, the water lines that we put in. I mean, when I first came on the council, it was a hot topic of conversation. Did we want to put any more money under the ground? You know, to invest in infrastructure. And those decisions have been so important. Especially, I woke up Christmas morning, my pipes were frozen. I had, you know, no water in my kitchen Christmas morning. But that was small compared to what Alto was facing. And so, yet again, I think the city and the council have made wise decisions in the past 3 years to make sure that the Baldwin citizens wouldn't be facing empty tanks. Actually, just the reverse.
Well, it was another few scary nights. Ms. Cindy and I had gotten some reports through the departments, and we were blessed to make it through yet another difficult time. I will say that our largest customer, our largest wholesale customer, they were probably in the most teetering point, and somehow, I guess through the grace of God and the staff that was on hand, we did narrowly escape a bad time. And we're more prepared for it now.
That's
3 years ago, we had similar things like this. We had camaraderie, and we had willingness. We weren't quite as prepared as we were for this.
I will say that boots on the ground, I mean, they really know how to come together. We've heard Fletcher tell us time and time again how interconnected Baldwin and Demarest really are, and how our systems were designed to work together. And when our personnel are working together to make sure that those two entities work together, we weren't faced with, a citywide boil water notice because we didn't have water or Demarest. So, having that camaraderie and that ability to work together and the knowledge that both sides have of the other side has been a tremendous asset to our city. I mean, us knowing when Demarest, is hurting and Demarest knowing when we're hurting and how we can complement one another is so beneficial in our system. But I mean, they pulled it through this last week.
Well,
So
these are the invisible machinations, that the citizens don't see. They see the stuff above the ground and, they see the events. But it's these behind the scenes, under the ground decisions and working together, the camaraderie, that I think reminds us it is a new day in Baldwin.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep, meat and potatoes is where it matters.
Well, I personally felt it from Demarest Mayor. He was very appreciative. He was very willing. He was very understanding. I think that we demonstrated the same to them. And Alto, I think that because of the ability for us to work so tightly with Demarest was able to support Alto inadvertently through it all. The honest truth is that Demarest lost 1 million gallons a day from their other provider, that other provider being Toccoa. They were hurting bad. they had to turn the spigot off to do. So, we all have to work together, we really do. All right, any other comments from council? All right, have a motion to adjourn? Have a motion for Ms.